What are you pleased with your team in the early stages of practice this year?
Well, the early stages, we're seeing highly competitive practices. I really think it builds off our fall league. We had a terrific fall league out at the Upward Star Center where we came out and competed hard every night and lost by 2 in the semifinals out there. Very satisfied with how the guys have shown up that first week following fall league and competed hard in every practice.
Uh, you've seen, you say you're very optimistic about your team. What do you see as your outlook for this year? What are the goals you've set, and how do you think you're going to fare when it's all said and done?
Well, we usually work through a couple of weeks of practice before we set specific goals, and the players are instrumental in setting those goals. But every year we look to show up and compete to win our region and certainly compete to win the state championship. And I think that's where we are this year. We've got veteran players coming back who know how to win, who know how to compete, and know what it takes in terms of preparation to meet those goals. So I would say, when we finally sit down and set our goals for the season, it will be start with a region championship and then, of course, followed by a state championship. Those are reasonable goals for us.
Well, you've set such a high standard over the last few years. How do you replace key players like Colton Ayers, who was deadly from three-point, especially giving you a spark sometimes when you were down a little bit?
Sure. Replacing Colton Ayers, we called him Cujo, and Michael McGettrick, who was pretty much an unsung hero for us. He's really a glue defensively and on the board. So replacing those guys will be difficult, but we have a solid group coming back. And what I always like to stress that improvement that those players, returning players, make year over year. And we've seen that with Cucho last year, and then you'll see Jordan Leith make another big jump in his abilities just by putting time in the gym and preparation. Then you'll see juniors like Tate Cannon and Antron Trey Smith make those improvements through the off season, along with their bodies getting better through workouts. So it'll be a group effort to replace, especially the points that Cujo gave us. Definitely a group effort. But we had 4 guys average double figures in fall league, and that's exciting for me because you don't know who it's going to be each and every night that we play, and the points will be much more evenly distributed. So I think that helps us. You don't replace seniors like we lost by plugging somebody in. You do it by preparation and competing.
Well, you mentioned Leith. What's been his progression over the last few years with you? I mean, when he first started playing, he was a great player, and his skill set's just getting better and better and more complete. He's taken over the team. He did last year's leadership was a stark difference over his sophomore year. What have you seen different this year with
Sure.
this?
Well, what's important, if you go back and look at Jordan Leith's time with us, I met with his family and said this, and I wasn't afraid to just tell him what I saw. He did a lot of things good.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do anything great. And I told his family that and told him that. And from that moment, he went to work and developed his skills. And you hit on an important part, is that leadership. Not only going in and setting the example in the gym by putting the work in, but also being that leader who brought others into the gym and worked on it. I can't take and won't take responsibility or credit for his improvement. He's put his time in the gym. I've shown him some things, but ultimately he's the one who's put that work in, and he's going to be fantastic this year. I'm excited for him.
And finally, just in a spectacular region, you and Spartanburg Day School both lost to the state champions last year in the state championship in the tournament. What do you expect coming out of this region with Day School, Spartanburg Christian?
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be in the region and be included with coaches like Coach Arp, who does a great job, and Coach Sarter, and then we have Shannon Forrest and Greenwood Christian joining us. And I don't know those folks as well, but I do know Coach Arp and Coach Sarter very well. They're friends of mine, and one thing you can count on is they're going to have their teams prepared. They have excellent players, and I expect it to be another dogfight in the region this season. It'll be great basketball to come out and watch. The environment is unbelievable. It's just it's a great Friday night experience to be able to coach in this region and to be able to coach in those games. It should be competitive, and our goal is a state championship, and in order to do that, you typically have to beat the better team in your region 4 times, or at least beat them at the right time. And so that'll be a challenge throughout the season. And I know Coach Sarter and I were talking about that Saturday. So it's going to be a fun year, and it's a great environment for the kids to learn about basketball and learn about life, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
All right. Just talk about what you've seen in practice so far, even though it's been a little limited, and just what you're optimistic about in your new team.
This year we took a different approach, and instead of the strength training before practice, we worked strictly on speed and agility. And I think Coach Galloway's gotten them working faster and harder. So by the time I get them at 4 o'clock ready for practice, everything seems to be faster. They're a little more serious as far as they know how close we came last year to beating a few rivals, and they know how close we came in the playoffs. And I think they finally taste success. And I think that's carried over to the beginning of this year, which can only get better from there.
Well, what kind of outlook do you have on your team this year? You talked about the success you had in the playoffs. You had a big emotional win last year.
Yes. I think the girls realize that getting to playoffs shouldn't be our number one goal anymore. I think reaching the second or third round in playoffs is a more attainable goal for them. Our region has always been strong, and it's going to be a tough battle to get there. But a couple of key victories last year sparked their confidence. Graduation is going to take a toll on every team in the region, and hopefully, our newcomers will step in and not replace, but create a different look for us this year, and we have a different style.
All right. Well, you've got a couple of key returning players, Ashley Sides and Sarah Keim. Just talk about the role that you expect them to have to pick up.
Sarah is by far our leader, emotional leader, vocal leader, plays hard all the time. I don't ask her to be our top scorer, and she knows that her role is key on the floor, whether she scores 3 points or 30 points. And so having that emotional leader, Ashley Sides isn't the emotional leader. She's not a verbal player. She's very focused, she's very goal-oriented and wants to win, so she's probably more apt to say, I want the 30 points a game, and she's going to work to get the 30. And so having the two of them leading us, from last year, and having the rest of us follow their footsteps. We have a leader on the court that'll work hard 100%. We have a vocal leader, and then we have some newcomers that have just stepped right in and followed. And Sophie J, being our only senior, isn't a basketball player, isn't a basketball star. She works hard at basketball. I don't know if I should say she's not a player. She's a golfer who loves basketball. And so she's not going to be the one that scores the 30 points. She's very quiet, so she's not going to be the emotional leader. But being my one and only senior, she's taken it upon herself to bring the girls more, to help them gel quicker. And that's big for us.
Right, well, on the flip side, you talk about the players that you have, but you lost a big key presence with Maggie McDonald. Who do you see maybe trying to step in and fill those shoes?
I'm not sure we can fill Maggie's shoes. She was kind of the one and only that we've had here. The presence, the shot, the attitude, the happiness. We always just make the term, well, it's Maggie. You can't replace her. So instead, we've had our newcomers come in, and instead of trying to fill her minutes, we're dispersing the minutes, creating a different style of play. So we're not actually having a presence underneath that's dominant, and hopefully we can avoid a slower pace game where we need that underneath presence. And I think with the people that we have, our post players that have moved in, but again, instead of replacing Maggie, we're hoping to just create a different style of basketball.
All right, and finally, just what do you expect out of the region? Not necessarily where you think you'll finish, but what do you look forward to, and kind of just the outlook on with Shannon Forest being new to the region?
I look forward to the region. I think we have an exciting region. SCA and the day school and us have been rivals in multiple sports for multiple years, and we finally got over the hump last year against SCA. and they're going to be a tough team. You know, we did it once, then they got us, and that's what the rival creates, is you have to be able to beat each other to be a rival. We haven't beaten the day school. They're kind of more of our goal rival, and we're hoping, you know, like I said, graduation affects all of us, and we're hoping this year the playing fields are different when you add Shannon Forest into the mix. It's no longer the 1, 2, 3, you know, and I don't want to leave out Greenwood. They've struggled trying to rebuild their program, but we're looking forward to being one of the top 2, and who the top one is, hopefully it is us, but if it's not us, I really couldn't tell you who that would be this year.